Hey, what's going on, Life Vantage? Jesse and Erika Dale here. We want to thank you for opening up your hearts and your minds to our message today on social media and inviting us into your homes. We couldn't be more excited than to be here, right now, to bring you guys this message.
Absolutely. A little bit about us and our background. We've been with Life Vantage for 5 years this month. It's been an incredible journey, and just seeing where the company has gone and where we're headed excites me even more. But when I got started in Life Vantage, you guys, I said no. It wasn't for me. I wasn't looking. I had a full-time job managing the gyms that Jesse owned, and I said I don't have the time. I'm already working 50-hour weeks, and I don't have the investment. But I took a really hard look in the mirror and I said, you know what, if you don't have the time and you don't have the investment, what are you doing in your life right now to change your story? And I couldn't answer the question. So I decided to jump in, but with me already working 50, 60 hours a week, I couldn't build in the traditional sense that I understood network marketing was. So I relied on social media. I relied on an online presence in order to go out and to run to the elite ranks within Life Vantage over the course of 3.5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like she had a real slave driver for a boss. So my experience and story are a little bit different. I was a kid and always was into working out and wanted nothing to do more than to own my own gym. So I worked for a large corporation and had several gyms underneath me. They unfortunately went bankrupt, so it was do or die. I had that opportunity. I went all in to own my own gyms, and we owned 4 of them, and it was great. I figured, hey, this is it. I'm living the good life, working 60 hours a week, losing a manager unexpectedly every year. By clockwork, you'd lose a manager, and you would have to clear your calendar, go back in, train, develop someone who you know is going to quit in another year, and then repeat that cycle. So I was living what I considered to be the American dream. So when I was showing this social media and this network marketing, like what most people do when they're confronted with something that they don't understand, they either lower their pride and learn about it, which I didn't do. So what I did is I took option 2 and I just shamed it and poo-pooed it. Oh no, it's a scam. That doesn't work. What are you talking about? This is a real business. And see here, I'm swimming in $30,000 a month in overhead, trying to get these gyms to work. And they did work. They worked very well. But seeing Erika open my mind and have me lower my pride and live more in a state of humility to learn about this completely changed my ways to the point where we utilized her strategies that we're going to talk to you about today. And I just bought in not only on network marketing, but on social media. We hence went and closed the gyms so we could have a larger impact. The gyms impacted maybe 1 or 2 square miles. Now we can literally have, and you can literally have an impact on the entire world. So it completely was a Jekyll and Hyde experience for me, and that's why I'm so passionate and excited to share you our 4 points on social media today.
Yes. So, and fun fact, Jesse didn't even have a Facebook account back in 2014 when we met.
No, I used to call it the Facebook.
The Facebook. So why social media? Just a couple of points here. 3.6 billion people are on some sort of social media platform, with an estimated 4.4 billion by the year 2025. So when Jesse said that you can have a larger scale of impact, that's the reason right there. I mentioned when I first got started in Life Vantage, I didn't have the time, the opportunity to go and build in the traditional sense, go into homes, go meet people for coffee. And so I needed to utilize social media to make this business work. Now I often hear people say, well, I want to do it on social media because it's easier. It's not easier, but I do believe that you can build quicker just because of that larger scope of impact, the amount of conversations you can have inside of social media. So our first point that we want to bring to you is personal branding. I think a lot of us understand personal branding, or we've at least heard this word, but personal branding is just who you are. What do you want to attract into your social media? And the cool thing about personal branding is you get to decide who you want to be, who you want to put out, what people are going to see, who is Jesse Dale, who is Erika Dale, and what do you want to be known for. So I would encourage you to think about what 5 words your friends would describe you as, Or if you don't know, go and ask them. They'll tell you. But I always want to say to ask for nouns, because most often people will say, oh, you're attractive, you're nice, you're a good mom. And those are great things, but we want to know what nouns you are. So when I think of our personal branding, I like to think of our branding buckets. And when we create content, for the most part, they're going to fall into these 5 buckets. Maybe you have 3, maybe you have 10, that's completely up to you. Our buckets tend to be God or our faith, our marriage, nutrition and fitness, travel. If you guys know me, you know travel is one of them. And then, of course, network marketing, entrepreneurship, and LifeVantage. So what are your brand buckets? And again, when you're creating your content, you want it to fall, for the most part, inside of those buckets. It helps to create a clear and concise brand. It helps to really attract the people that are most like you. So here's a couple of examples from my personal Facebook. Obviously, network marketing. What I do is I create a fun picture, something that shows that we're enjoying life. Right here, we're on the lake on our jet ski. And then I go and talk about what I didn't like about my former career, right? The job, the hours, the coworkers, and the stress, and then what I've transitioned to through network marketing, what it has allowed me to create: flexibility, entrepreneurship, being able to travel, being able to be more into our marriage, more into our families. And then, of course, travel. I've had to come up with this one. This is a recent picture, but it does show what's possible. It shows a life of flexibility. It shows a life of going out and living what you're truly passionate about. And one of the things that Jesse used to kind of be, I guess he would get on me about was, well, I don't know if you should always post about the travel and about the trips and, you know, and the nice things of life. And I said, no, you absolutely should, because it's showing those people what's possible and it's inspiring them to go out and create that.
And what are we doing with our social media? We're hope dealing. We are building belief and hope. And when she would post those things, since she would include her story of what led up to that, they literally see how we're living our hope and our dream. And that's really what we're trying to get people in with the opportunity is, hey, a better life, or a life that might be more simple for you. And when they see you living that life and they know your story, they're going to be attracted to that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge in helping us build hope for our future prospects.
Absolutely. So content creation is part of your brand, right? What type of content are you putting out there? Why would people take a look at your post, right? The average human has an attention span of about 7 seconds. Guys, it's less than a goldfish. So what is going to make them stop what we call the scroll hole, right? That's all we do on Facebook. We scroll, we scroll, we scroll. What is going to make them stop and say, you know what is Erika posting? What is she talking about today? Well, we're blessed here at LifeVantage. In case you haven't explored the playbook, LifeVantage has already created a ton of content that falls into this content creation of high quality, of eye appealing. It's beautiful. People will stop and take a look at it. And then you want to be engaging. You want to be entertaining, right? I told you earlier that Jesse has done Facebook Lives with a shark puppet. It's entertaining. Educational. What are you an expert at? What can you portray yourself as an expert at? Is it nutrigenomics? Is it health and wellness? Is it real estate? It doesn't matter. If people learn from you, they will glob onto you. We as humans, we want to learn, we want to grow. And so when you're putting things out there, make it educational. And then, of course, empowering. Jesse said earlier, we're hope dealers. That's what we are in LifeVantage. What are you going to put out there that's empowering, that's bringing people to you in order for them to say, you know what, I want to know more about this person.
Yeah, and Eric, I think we talked off camera earlier on a point that you made about them, maybe they're not quite there yet. Maybe they're not able to quite do the travel and everything, but they're building towards that. So you can say, hey, I just took on this amazing opportunity that I'm so excited about, and I'm able to work it in the nooks and crannies of life between working my 40 hours a week, between being a mom and between being a dad. And now people are attracted, well, what else, what are you got going on that you can have all that on your plate and still, you know, launch this side business? That's intriguing.
Yeah, and that's empowering right there.
Yeah.
So a couple other content must-haves, and I'm not going to dive into these. You guys can explore them. There's some great apps out there. Again, don't reinvent the wheel. Use the playbook. Use what LifeVantage has already worked so hard to create for us. But these are some apps that you can use to just beautify your posts to make your content stand out a little bit more as you're creating them.
So our next great take-home point for you is creating lists. So we hear a lot of people when they're kind of getting their lukewarm into the social media, we say, well, you know what? I don't want to put my kids out there nowadays. I want to build on social media. I want to have another tool, but not if it means that I want to, my kids are going to be exposed or whatnot. So social media has an ability to create specific lists on your account where only people on that list, designated on that list, will see that content. So not only are we able to keep certain elements of our private lives that we might want to catalog as we go, like the raising of your children or whatnot, you can still catalog that on Facebook by utilizing lists, but you can also create other lists. So for example, if you have a warm lead, someone that's maybe looking at the opportunity video, they're maybe kind of halfway in, just exploring it, you could put them in a list where you go and drip on hope type posts on that, or testimonial type posts. Then you could have more of a hot lead list for people that have watched the opportunity video, they're in it, they've kind of shown some interest, they maybe just need a little bit of that little nudge. You can create a hot lead list where they're like, hey, our next event is coming up on this date. Don't miss out. Do you want to get in on this? And only the people on that list will be exposed to that post. So it's almost like speaking directly to them. And like what Erika and I do is we'll have certain team on a list. So if we just need to communicate with our team, we know that we can do a post. Nobody else is going to see it except that team. And that could be more of a business post or so on and so forth.
Yeah, I use it for team love, right? We want to go out and we want to comment on people's posts. We want to love on their posts. That could take a long time as you're building your big teams. So what I do is I put all of our team on one list. I quickly take about 5 minutes. I scroll through, I comment like, and I'm done. And so it's very simple. And again, it's all about that time management.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can create different lists for different lead sources. It almost allows you to create a funneling system where, okay, now you've been really dripping on these cold leads. They're a little bit warmer now. Now they go to your warm lead list. Then you put them on your hot lead list, and you're getting the right content to the right people. Yeah. So how do you create lists? Very easy. You're just simply going to go to your friends list, and then it's going to give you an option, create list, a little plus. You create the list, you're going to name that list, whatever you want to name it, and then you're ready to just add people to that list and rock and roll. Very, very simple, but I don't think a lot of people know that they can do these lists on Facebook. So the other point that we wanted to bring home is influence and impact. So when I first adopted social media, I thought, hey, I got to grow my influence, and I was I'm into kind of elite fitness. So, CrossFit, elite bodybuilding, or what I call extreme fitness. Well, here's the thing. Extreme fitness might get a decent influence. There might be people that like and comment on this photo, but what we found is the people who we are really trying to impact were not influenced or impacted by this post. As a matter of fact, we had people coming to us and they're saying, hey, I really would like to join your business, but I'm really not into like the bodybuilding thing. Right. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's what they think we're all about? No, this is just a part of my life on the side. And I had to kind of like what Eric Worre says, when you're building your influence, when you're building your network, particularly on social media, you might have to take a temporary hit in social esteem to make a greater impact. And that's what I had to. I had to go and draw back from these posts that would get tons of likes and comments and yays. And yeah, that's great. That made me feel very, very good. But it was taking away from the ultimate mission, because people would look at that and say, you know what? I never would want to take fitness to that level, and it really wasn't getting the right people to look at us. So I had to kind of rebrand my identity from Jesse the meathead and power lifter to Jesse the growth-driven, Jesus-loving entrepreneur. And when you take that shift in social media, you're gonna start attracting maybe temporarily a lot less people, but the right people. Yeah. So we do a morning sprint, wisdom for entrepreneurs, and it's cool. We're starting to see it grow, but going from like the bikinis and Lamborghinis type posts is what I call them, going from them that would get all this attention to these that would get little attention, it was a higher impact. So I would encourage you to do an inventory of your social media. Look at your posts that are getting the most attention and say, are these posts saying the message that I want them to say? Because when I did this inventory, I found that my highest attention posts were actually hurting us. And I kind of had to rebuild, rebrand, and it's exciting because we're seeing it grow. And when you start growing by attracting the right people, wow, that is very, very cool. And like Erika said, it's never easy, but it definitely gets easier as you grow that influence and impact.
Yeah, I think of it as quality over quantity,
Absolutely.
right? I see a lot of people make this mistake in their social media, and they'll post something that is maybe a hot topic in the world right now, but maybe it's not something they're actually passionate about, and they'll fall into that trap, and then they'll get all the likes and the comments, but then they go to segue into a conversation, and it goes nowhere because it's not really who they are. So being vulnerable, and again, going back to those brand buckets and creating content that falls in those buckets that you're passionate about makes those conversations so much more easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, as we wrap up, we're going to dive into our last topic with you. And this one is either hated or loved. There's never usually in between. But let me tell you, Facebook Live is crucial for growing your influence, your impact inside of Facebook. Facebook favors video. In case you didn't know, 80% of your newsfeed is video. That's what Facebook wants people to see. They're going to showcase it. They're going to show more of it. But unfortunately, a very low percentage of us are actually utilizing it. So I'm going to give you some tips, some tricks, some things that you can take away. And again, I always teach people, if this is way overwhelming or you're just like, I can't do these things, take what you can and scratch the rest. Come back to it later, revisit your notes later, but again, take away what you can and start to implement it immediately.
Yeah, and I feel that lives are implementable today.
Absolutely.
Today. Maybe the listing is like, okay, I'm not quite ready to do that, but this is something that I feel that we can all execute literally today.
Yeah, so Facebook Live, guys, you just have to pull the trigger. You're gonna have to do it scared, but here's some tips that'll hopefully ease you into it a little bit. Number one is just have good lighting. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to go spend hundreds of dollars. Go stand in front of your window and have the natural sunlight come in, and that will be good enough. There are a ton of tools you can go out and do as well, but again, just good lighting. What's going to stop the scroll hole? What's going to get someone to say, whoa, what are they doing today? A catchy title, right? If you just put a post or a live up that says, come hear about the little yellow pill, probably not going to get people to stop and take a look at your video. But if you say something like, oh, come take a look at the science and the 26 peer-reviewed research studies, that might be a little bit more catchy. That might draw them in, right? If Jesse were doing a live and he said something about shark's blood in the deep water, that might be enough for someone to stop their scroll. And his live may not have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
But again, that catchy title is a must.
Yeah, you did a great live the other day. And I think the title was "I'm Angry," which is, if anyone that knows her in our branch, that doesn't happen. So I think that got a lot of attention because people are like, "Whoa,
Yes.
That's out of the norm."
Absolutely. The big thing here is to know what your point is. What are you trying to convey to your audience through this video? A lot of times we tend to ramble, or I'll get off of lives, guilty, and say, man, I forgot XYZ, and that was the most important thing for me. So have notes if you need to. If that helps you to stay on point or to remember what your message is about, it's totally okay. Again, this is about being vulnerable. This is about talking to your audience. They don't care if you stumble. They don't care if you have notes. They don't care if you fall over your words, but it's just crucial to be you and to get that point across.
Yeah, and that's why lives are so hot. They've done studies, and they compared Harvard attorneys, like very polished speakers, and they found that they alienated jurors. So when they found that this polished speaker was presenting their case to jurors, and then you had kind of a lawyer that's a little bit more fumbly, not quite maybe had like an accent or whatnot, they found that the jurors related more to the other lawyer that was less polished and actually had listened a little bit more to what they had to say. People are like that with you. They want to see the mask off, the authentic you. So it's okay to be that. You don't have to rehearse. I would actually say don't over rehearse your lives. Have some sticky notes put up, of some key topics, but go out there and be you, and your people will see your genuine, authentic self.
Absolutely. So one thing that's crucial to your lives is you want to get people to interact with you. So welcoming them by name, as they hop on, hey, Jesse, thanks for joining today. That's going to, one, keep them on longer. We like to hear our name. And two, it's going to get them to start to comment, which then shows your live to even more viewers. And then the other thing is to say, it used to be drop a 1, drop a 2. That's actually gone away. Facebook doesn't like it. I'm sorry. I do that. I'm having to revamp how I say my lives. But how else can you get them to interact? What can you say to get them to actually comment during your live and then acknowledge it? As you're talking, oh yeah, that's a great point. And then maybe you segue in and talk about that. It's going to keep your viewers on longer, and that's the biggest point. Yeah. But the last thing, you guys need a call to action. If you go live and you're talking about Protandem and the benefits and sharing a compliant testimony, and then you don't have a way to contact me or order from me or here's my website in the comments, you guys are missing the biggest part of your Facebook Lives. You just did this incredible live and got all this attention, and now no one knows what to do. We as human, we need instruction. We need to be told what to do. We need to be led. So maybe you say, drop a comment for more info, private message me, or hey, I'll put my link in the comments so that you can go check it out. Those would be 3 types of call to actions that you could do. Yeah. So the next thing I think that a lot of people get really overworked, they think too much about is, what do I talk about on my lives? And here's some ideas for you guys. You can screenshot this, write them down quickly. But these are really good topics that we've done, that we've explored ourselves, that get quite a bit of traction. And for the most part, they're easy to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to do like subliminal messaging. So I like to do some demonstration videos. Like I'll demonstrate an exercise typically or something along those lines. And I'll always say hey, just took my Tri-Synergizer and I'm ready to bring this exercise straight into your home. So now people are like, what's the Tri-Synergizer? Because if I'm demonstrating an exercise, I'm already capturing an audience that's probably like into working out. And I know by definition, they're always gonna ask, what supplements do you take? So by coming right out with that and then leading right into the exercise or whatever it is that you want to demonstrate for them, maybe it's an anti-inflammatory shake or something like that, the best way to mix their Axio, whatever it might be, they're going to kind of be left with, what was that Tri-Synergizer they talked about? So that's a cool little tip as well.
Absolutely. And then going back to your brand buckets, guys, when you talk about things you're passionate about, it's just easy, right? You can sit down with your best friend and have a conversation because it's easy. So talk about the things you're passionate about, and people love to hear that. They love to see the excitement in your face and the conviction in your voice. So talk about the things you're passionate about. Make it simple on yourselves. So we're gonna leave you with a challenge. We like a little bit of a challenge. This is something we've done ourselves. This is something we've done into our teams, and it's really helped to make a name for yourselves, to grow, to ease out of your comfort zone. So we're going to challenge you to do a 14-day Facebook Live starting on Monday. So put it in your calendar. If it's not in your calendar, it won't happen. But go live for the next 14 days. Use some of those topics, create your own. I would encourage you, if you're a leader, to do this inside of your teams. Do it together. Give them 14 days of topics. Everybody talks about the same thing. Go and comment and love on the stuff that they're talking about. And then, of course, track your views. Know, if you start on day 1 and maybe you've got 20 views, what does it look like on day 14? And it's really exciting to see the growth that you can create through the Facebook Lives.
Yeah, and if you're a leader, maybe create a private Facebook group and invite people into your 14-day challenge. And that way they can post questions maybe on, what do I say live today? Or they can also post a link to their live so you guys can play team and support each other. That's what we did in our 14-day live challenge. It was great. It also encouraged camaraderie and culture and got people way out of their comfort zone. And that's what it's all about. That's why we're in LifeVantage, is to grow and contribute. So this is a really good growth opportunity for you and your team. So if you're sitting at home right now and you're in for this, I want the hand up. Now, if your hand's like this, then I want you to have someone grab your hand and put it up in the air and go all in on this. If the fact of doing 14 days straight, it must be consecutive straight, scares you, that is awesome. That means you're growing out of the comfort zone into greatness, and that's what we want. If you're like, you know what, I can do that, then double it. Say, I'm gonna go 28 days. If you're like 14 days, no problem. Whatever pushes you to grow, that's what we want you to do. So get the hand in the air, commit to doing it, get your team, create that group, And we want to just leave and say thank you so much for inviting us into your home, opening up your heads and your hearts to our message. We really hope that you have some key takeaway points from today.
Yeah, and just remember, social media, it's a whole thing, right? So take it a day at a time. Don't allow the changes to overwhelm you. Always be a student. Always be learning, and just, again, take it one step at a time. What's one thing you can go and implement into your social media today?